Hello everyone, this is Midlife Music Teacher and I'm Mrs. G. And in this video, I'm going to share how I teach my students how to read notes on the musical staff. So let's take it from the top. In kindergarten, our main focus in music class is that feeling of the pulse of the music, the beat, feeling rhythm, long and short sounds and silences, vocal exploration, and exploring this concept of pitch, mainly high and low and in the middle. I introduce solfege to kindergarten, and the only thing I do for the staff for kindergarten is we have 2 lessons where I give a little introduction of the staff. In that lesson, I show them a picture of the staff, and I hold up my hand staff, they hold up theirs, and they count the lines, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and they count the spaces in between the lines, 1, 2, 3, 4. In the next lesson, I'll show them a picture of the staff and I'll show them so and me on the staff. When they see so and me on the staff, we do a little activity where I'll point to the note on the staff, which one's higher, which one's lower, and they'll play the tone bells or resonator bells to how I conduct the note. Then I let them break up into small groups and they take turns conducting to the 2 notes on the staff, and the other person plays the tone bells, and then they switch. So that's it. That's all that we do with kindergarten on the staff. In first grade, when it comes to the staff, I show them a picture of a house, and I put the 3-lined staff on the house. Literally a 3-line staff, first floor, upstairs, and downstairs. We use the song Bounce High, Bounce Low, which is just so, la, so, mi. We sing the song, we do the solfege, and we figure out that so is in the middle. So that's the note that lives on the first floor. And I will draw the note G on the staff. Then they discover la lives upstairs. So I draw an A upstairs on this picture of the house in between the 2 lines. So in the space, and that mi is the lowest note that lives downstairs, so I'll draw that on the bottommost line, E. Then we transfer that pitch and rhythm to a 3-line staff poster. I choose the kids one at a time to help me figure out where does this note live. Bounce high, 1 note at a time. And then students will play it on the tone bells. I'll set them up just like the house. G is in the middle, A is upstairs, E is downstairs. And they take turns playing the song, playing the pitches of the song on the tone bells. The next lesson, we do a composing activity. And so we'll compose a song, putting the notes on the 3-line staff. We compose one as a class, and then I break them into small groups and they do their own composing with pitch and rhythm on a 3-line staff. Is it totally accurate? No. We're not talking about measures and time signatures. They don't even really draw the notes correctly on the staff, whether the note is on the line or in the space, but it gives them a chance to kind of notate whether notes are in the middle, high, or low on a 3-line staff. And they get resonator bells, they break into small groups, they compose a little song using those 3 notes, and they notate it basically on a staff. It's just getting used to this idea that a staff is the house where the notes live. For my 2nd grade students, we get more into looking at notes on the staff. And we take out our hand staff and we count the lines and we count the spaces. And we talk about whether notes are on a line or in a space. I explain that when we are talking about music, if a note is on a line, that doesn't mean like when the teacher asks you to write your name on the line, you write it, above the line. In music, we look at the note's head, and I literally have them point to their own head. And if the head of the note, the round part of the note is its head, if the head of the note is on the line, that means the line, and I take my hands like this, the line is like a pillow and the head goes on the line. So it looks like the line goes right through the middle of the note's head because its head is on the line like a pillow. And then we talk about if the note is in a space, then that means the head is in between the lines like this. And we use the song from EEMC called Lines and Spaces, Baby. Even though that song does talk about the note names, naming the notes on the lines and spaces, we don't get into that too much in second grade. We just literally, as the song plays, I tell them to, if it's a note on a line, we put our head like this. If it's in a space, we go like this. Physical movements to help them remember the note's head goes on a line or in a space. Another thing we do in second grade is we look at the notes on the staff and we talk about melodic direction. If the notes are moving by steps, skips, leaps, and repeats. And EEMC has this great visual tool with animals on a staircase. We explore melodic direction in looking at notes on the staff and looking at how they move, steps, skips, leaps, or repeats. And continued use of solfege, and that is what we do in second grade. In the follow-up lesson from the animals on the staircase, we talk about what these things look like on the staff. A step, a skip, a leap, and repeated tones, and how we can kind of recognize when they're happening in a song on the staff. In third grade, we start really naming the notes on the staff. We do a huge review of notes on a line versus notes in spaces. We do that review of melodic direction, steps, skips, leaps, and repeated tones. But in third grade, we start to name the notes on the staff. And so we use our hand staff a lot, and we count the lines, we count the spaces, and we start to name the notes using mnemonic devices like every good boy does fine, or every good burger deserves fries. EEMC has one, elephants get big dirty feet. And then, of course, the spaces spell the word face, and I often do this, face, F-A-C-E. This is a visual from Essential Elements music class, the curriculum that I use, and I often put this on the board when referring to the hand staff and the mnemonic devices that we can use to help us remember the names of the notes. One thing I impress upon my third graders is that when they're counting the lines and spaces on the staff, they have to count from the bottom to the top. We talk about the names on the staff, and then we talk about the melodic direction. We strategize as we read the notes on the staff. So for example, if we are playing boomwhackers, they only need to know their own one note that they play. But then we advance that into playing glockenspiels and other melodic instruments. And so they have to know all the notes. So we'll figure them out together. For example, look at this note. Is its head on a line or in a space? They figure that out first. Then we figure out, okay, it's on a line. Which line is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. It's on line 2. Then we use our device. Every good G, that note is G. So this gets us so far because most songs for elementary students are written in the key of C. And so we get to the point where we're on me. Me is E. E is the first line of the staff. So how do we figure out what the other notes are? Well, I'll draw Ray on the staff and I'll say, is Ray higher or lower than me? It's lower. Is it lower by a step, skip, or leap? It's lower by a step. Now, if me is E, then that means Ray is, and then we figure it out together, Ray is D. And so I show them how D touches the staff, but it isn't on it. It dangles from the staff. Then we get to the case of Do. And so once again, we figure out is Do higher or lower than Ray? It's lower. Is it lower by a step, skip, leap, or repeat? It's lower by a step. Well, I show them we don't have any more staff to write on. So in music, what we do is if we don't have any more staff to write on, we extend the staff with something called a ledger line. And that's as far as I go with ledger lines. So I'll draw the line, I'll draw the note on it, and I'll say if me is E and Ray is D, that means this note here that doesn't look like any other note at all is C. We read notes on the staff as we play melodies and harmonies, playing them on barred percussion. In 4th grade, we play recorders, and so we continue this activity of reading notes on the staff, reviewing the staff, the lines and spaces, reviewing how to read the notes on the staff and the mnemonic devices. We put together all the things, meter, tempo, bar lines, rhythm, and melody, and play our recorders melodically. Now, one thing about elementary school and reading notes on the staff, we talk about melodic direction, but I don't really talk about intervals. The only interval we talk about in elementary music is an octave, and that's the interval of 8 notes. And that's because, if you have a low C under the staff, you can also have C in the 3rd space. That is an octave apart. So that's it. That's how I teach my students how to read notes on the staff in elementary school. Obviously, we're not doing that every single week, every single lesson, but it is a foundational thing that I like to make sure my students leave the elementary school knowing. Again, it's 45 minutes once a week, and therefore I have to scaffold it in such a way that students are going to remember not only week to week, but from year to year. So I hope you got a little more knowledge on reading notes on the staff and how elementary school kids can read them. And with that, we'll end on a high note. See you next time. Bye.